What up, y'all? I got a fun little camera for you today. This is the Kodak Ektar H35, a new film camera from Kodak that they just dropped. I'm gonna get into what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and what I think you should know before you pick one up. Let's get into it. So my latest obsession in cameras has been point and shoot cameras, both film and digital. There's just something about the joy of using the camera. Like, the overall user experience is so much less stressful for me because I'm not worried about settings or lighting or changing in the environment or what lenses use. None of that. I'm really just focused on what photo I want to take, pressing the button, and then moving on to the next photo I want to take. And that's something really fun about that. And that's what turned me on to this little camera. This is a point and shoot camera from Kodak. It's a new film camera called the Ektar H35. The H in this camera stands for half frame. This is a half frame camera. So instead of shooting the normal aspect ratio of every film camera out there, it's shooting the photo on half of the frame. So it's a more vertical crop. I wouldn't say it's fully vertical, but it's more like Instagram looking. It's definitely going to be easier to post these photos on a social media type of thing. But that's not really why I think Kodak did it. I think Kodak did it actually to save photographers money and allow them to just shoot more on a roll of film. So instead of shooting the typical 36 photos on the roll, you get 72 photos per roll. And of course, they're smaller photos. And that's pretty cool because it's going to save you some money, allow you to shoot more, and allow you to just use the camera more without having to worry about getting the perfect shot every single time. But let's get into some things that I really don't like about this camera. First, I'm going to be pessimistic and negative with you guys here. So first of all, the camera, it's fully plastic. It is an ABS plastic. Kodak claims that it is treated ABS plastic, but it feels really cheap. Like, it doesn't look it, which I guess is a positive, but when second you pick it up, it feels really cheap. If I dropped this camera, it would 100% explode. It's just that type of feeling. And in fact, even when I got the camera, the front little plastic panel that surrounds the flash and covers this top part, it was sticking out a little bit. I just pushed it in. There wasn't much holding it in terms of build quality. It's not going to meet or exceed your expectations. It's pretty bad overall. Essentially what this camera is, though, is this is a disposable camera. Your typical disposable camera that you find on the weddings, at the hipster wedding on the table. That is this camera, but just a reusable version, so you can pop the back out and load more film in. Talking on the physical design more, there's not much to the camera. There's the shutter button on top. There's the rewind mechanism on the bottom, as well as a little slot for a AAA battery that controls the flash. But there's no screens on it. There's no exterior buttons on it. There's not much to it. The little film latch for the door on the side, and that's about it. The only controls you have on this camera is whether to turn the flash on or off, and you do that by spinning this front lens dial. And then there is a little indicator on the top for which shot you're on in your roll, and then there's a little light on the back telling you that the flash is ready. That's it. That is all that's on the camera, so it's a very simplistic, minimalistic design. In terms of aesthetic, I think that's where this camera really wins and where Kodak put a lot of focus to it. It looks really cool. It's got that cool retro design that kind of mimics like a Leica or something like that. And sitting on your shelf, this camera looks really good. It looks a lot more than the $49 price point. And that's what actually drew it. It's probably going to draw a lot of people to this camera. First is its looks. It comes in 4 really cool colors too. There's black, brown, sage, and sand. This is the sage color. It's like a teal bluish, I would say. And the sand is like a light yellow, like desert yellow, I would call it. Pretty cool looking cameras overall. I would say it's a win in terms of aesthetic. And then talking about, picture quality and the settings of the camera. So it comes with a 22mm fixed f9.5 lens on the front. And then it's also a fixed shutter speed of 1/100th of a second. It's essentially the same exact type of lens that you're going to get on a disposable camera. And you should expect the same type of image quality that you're getting from a disposable camera. I mean, they're cool. It looks grainy. It looks vintage. It looks film. It looks gritty, if you will, but don't expect, a beautiful shallow depth of field or anything more from this camera in general. In fact, touching on image quality, I find that I'm getting a lot of blurry shots because of the 1/100th of a second shutter speed. Now, that shutter speed is enough to stop camera shake on my end because it's only a 22mm lens. It's pretty wide, but you got to be mindful of your subject moving quickly, because 1/100th of a second is not going to capture and freeze the stillness. So you're going to get a lot of blurriness in any type of moving images. I found that very much to be true here. But I say that not to really directly compete, point and shoot film cameras with this camera. That's not really what this camera is. This is a newer retro aesthetic, a vibe type of camera. But I will say that if you are looking for the best overall image quality, the best overall build quality, reliability of a point and shoot film camera, you can definitely spend your $50 better elsewhere looking at used older cameras from the past. I would say this, I think this camera is marketed perfectly to be a great present for any photographer out there. So if you are looking for the perfect Christmas or birthday present for your photographer out there, I would say definitely take a look at the Kodak. In terms of my user experience, I have found myself shooting a ton with this thing. I like the little half frame aspect ratio. I think it's fun and just a different way to compose photos. I like the small lightweight feature of it. I throw it in my pocket, in my bag all the time, and I don't really think about it. And it's just a cool little talking piece. I found a lot of people ask me about it, especially other photographers, when I take it out and shoot around other people. It's just a fun little thing to have on you all the time. And I like shooting disposable cameras anyway. When I'm at weddings, I'm always that guy picking up the disposable camera and shooting it. And so now I have that in a better looking version. But I wouldn't call this the best retro point and shoot camera out right now. That award, for my opinion, goes to Fuji. They have dropped a hell of a camera. Check out my video on the Fuji Instax Mini Evo. That is by far the best camera out right now. I love that camera, but it does come in at $200. But if you want to check out my full review, check that out here. I appreciate you guys. See you in the next one.